Welcome, everyone. Let's jump straight into today's explainer, because what we're talking about is absolutely fundamental to everything you're going to do in this classroom. Think of it like an operating system upgrade, but for your brain. You know how we're constantly updating our phones and computers to make sure they are running the latest, most efficient software? Well, today, we're going to look at the exact tools and frameworks designed to upgrade your mental operating system so you can easily navigate the complexities of the 21st century.
So, let's kick things off by challenging a kind of boring, traditional view of education. Here is the big question. What is the actual point of going to school? No, really, why are you sitting in a classroom for so many hours, days, and years? If you asked someone 100 years ago, they'd probably say, well, to memorize a bunch of facts, get a piece of paper, and go work in a factory. But the world has changed completely, and how we approach our education has to change right along with it.
I absolutely love this quote from Alec Peterson. He was one of the foundational figures of the International Baccalaureate. He said the goal of education is to create minds well-formed rather than minds well-stuffed. Basically, school isn't about treating your brain like a filing cabinet and just stuffing it with random facts and dates. I mean, you've got a supercomputer in your pocket that can Google the capital of Peru in 3 seconds flat. Time in school is actually about forming a highly capable, flexible mind that's ready to tackle the total unknown.
Okay, moving on to Section 1, Learning How to Learn. This brings us to a huge focus of our curriculum, and honestly, the secret to your success, learning how to learn. Instead of just obsessing over historical events or math formulas, we're focusing on the actual process of learning. We call these the approaches to learning skills, or ATL for short. It's basically the difference between passive learning, where you're just reacting to teaching, rote memorizing, waiting for someone to pour facts into your head, and proactive learning. Proactive learning is where you set the goals. You have the agency. You literally take the wheel of your own self-directed process.
Educational psychologist Barry Zimmerman hit the nail on the head here. He says learning should be a deliberate action. It's something you do for yourself in a proactive way. It definitely shouldn't be a covert event that just sort of happens to you while you're sitting quietly at a desk. Learning is active. You are the main character in your learning journey, not just a passive bystander.
Which brings us to Section 2, the 5 ATL categories.
So how do we actually become proactive learners? What are the specific tools we need to upgrade that mental operating system? Well, there are 5 interconnected categories: thinking, communication, social, self-management, and research. And the key takeaway here is that you need all 5 to be a well-rounded learner. Being an amazing researcher doesn't help much if you don't have the social or communication skills to share what you've found with your team, right? Or if you lack the self-management skills to actually get the project done on time. They all have to work seamlessly together.
And let's demystify some of the academic jargon you're definitely going to hear from us teachers. First up, metacognition. I know it sounds super complicated, but it simply means stepping back and analyzing how your own brain works best. It's literally thinking about how you think. Are you someone who learns best by drawing diagrams? Do you need to explain a concept out loud to a friend to really get it? Metacognition is just actively monitoring your own learning strategies so you can figure out what works, what doesn't, and how to improve.
And here is another absolutely vital tool in your toolkit: transfer. Transfer means taking a skill you mastered in one specific place and surprisingly using it to solve a problem in a completely unfamiliar situation. Think of it like taking a hypothesis testing method from your science lab and using it to fix a broken sculpture in art class, or even using it to resolve a real-life conflict with a friend. It's the ultimate proof that you haven't just memorized a fact for a test, but you genuinely understand a concept deeply enough to use it anywhere.
Let's look at Section 3, Practicing Your New Skills.
So, how do we actually acquire and practice these approaches to learning skills in your daily classes? Well, first off, it takes practice, and it is completely normal to struggle at first. You're going to build this toolkit in 2 main ways: explicit and implicit learning. Sometimes teachers will use explicit learning. That's when we pause the regular curriculum to give a standalone lesson directly on a specific skill, like exactly how to format a bibliography, or how to practice mindfulness to stop test anxiety. Other times, it'll be implicit. You'll naturally develop a skill while actively studying regular subjects, like practicing collaboration while grinding through a really tough history presentation with your peers.
And hey, nobody expects anyone to be perfect on day 1. There's a clear roadmap to mastery here. You start out as a novice, just observing others. Then you become a learner, copying the skill with lots of guidance and scaffolding from teachers. Step by step, you evolve into a practitioner who can use the skill confidently. And finally, you become an expert,
That's when you're not only self-regulating your own use of the skill, but you're actually sharing it and helping teach it to others.
Okay, let's get into Section 4, Becoming a Self-Regulated Learner.
This right here is the ultimate climax of the entire framework. What does a self-regulated learner actually look like in action? Well, they fire on all cylinders. They set their own learning goals. They ask deep, open-ended questions. They generate their own personal motivation. They aren't just waiting for a teacher to push them. They manage their own distractions. And yes, that absolutely means putting the phone away. They bounce back from failure with real resilience. And most importantly, they adjust their learning processes when things aren't working. They take absolute agency over their education and refuse to give up when things get hard.
A vital part of this is becoming what researchers call a self-adjuster, or an assessment-capable learner. This is the kind of student who relies on internal feedback loops. They don't wait for a teacher to hand them back a failing grade a week later to realize they're struggling. They continuously monitor their own progress, and if they realize they're stuck, they actively change their game plan mid-flight. If reading the textbook isn't working, they pivot. They find a video tutorial, they ask a peer for help, they adjust.
Which leads us to Section 5, Preparing for Your Future.
So why push so hard for all this self-regulation? Why do we care so much about equipping ourselves with all these thinking and communication skills? Because we can't just teach you a list of facts for a specific job anymore. The world is changing way too fast. The careers of the future literally do not exist yet. Think about it. 10 years ago, roles in artificial intelligence prompting or augmented reality design barely existed. If we only learn what is known right now, that knowledge is going to be obsolete the moment graduation hits.
But by mastering your ATL skills, you are downloading the exact operating system you need to thrive absolutely anywhere. You become a person who navigates uncertainty with forethought. You independently explore new ideas without waiting for instructions. You remain totally resourceful, collaborative, and incredibly resilient in the face of rapid change. You're going to be a lifelong learner no matter what the future throws at you. So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. Your brain is capable of incredible things, but only if you actually take the wheel. Will you be a passive receiver of information, just sitting there waiting to have your mind stuffed? Or will you be a proactive, self-regulated learner, building a well-formed mind ready to take on the world? The choice is entirely yours. What kind of learner will you choose to be tomorrow, the very second you step into your next class? Think about it. Thanks so much for exploring this explainer with me today, and I seriously can't wait to see the incredible learners you all become.